All right, Johnny McGonigal. Dave Jones is back in Downingtown, so it's just you and me to discuss what we just saw, and it was a whooping that neither one of us saw this coming. I thought Penn State could hang with them, but I did not see 400-plus rushing yards and just complete ineptitude on offense. They were lucky to get 17.
I thought Penn State was going to win. I mean, that was my prediction. Now, I wasn't going to be surprised if they came out and lost 7-point underdogs, especially at the big house, the house of horrors for Penn State in recent years in these bigger games. And look, you only have to go back to 2016, the last time Penn State gave up 300 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns on the ground in conference play. They did it again today. I mean, right here, 2016, that 49-10 loss, and man, it was what it ended up being 41-17, and it felt a whole lot worse. 7.9 yards a carry felt a whole lot worse. It was just they got bullied. They got pushed around.
Yeah, they're coming off a bye week. They have a pretty good idea with what's coming. There were no surprises today.
They know who Donovan Edwards is. They know who Blake Corum is. They know this offensive line is big and gnarly, but they just couldn't do anything about it.
It was stunning that the defense could not get off the field. Michigan did not punt today, which is not a great if you're the Penn State defense.
It's a telltale sign.
First 3 drives were 11, 13, and 13 plays, and eventually the Penn State defense got tired. They actually made some nice red zone stops, or it would have been worse than 41-17. But the other story, Johnny, is just the offense. I don't think the game plan was particularly great, and they didn't really try and run the ball. They had that 3rd and 1 early. They couldn't get it. I thought that was a sign of things to come. But no case, you didn't see anything much of Kaytron Allen, nothing from Nick Singleton. Sean Clifford, I think, was 7 of 19. Also, he left the game with an injury.
He did. That was the reason why Drew Aller came in.
He was not pulled. Landon Tengwall, the left guard, got injured in pregame warmups. They had to go with Hunter Norris. That didn't help. But they just were physically handled, and they were out executed. It was one of the worst performances of the James Franklin era, I thought.
It really was. And look, the defense got ran all over, and 418 rushing yards isn't going to get the job done. But offensively, they weren't able to string together drives. They weren't able to sustain much. A couple of early 3-and-outs. You look at what they did on the ground overall. Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen combining for 12 carries for, I think, 35 yards. And you mentioned that. It was that 3rd and 1. Early. First drive, off tackle. Nick Singleton can't get it.
Bounces it.
And, it kind of just set a tone. And that, Penn State's red zone defense, which had been so good, through 5 games, stood up in the first half. They were good. They held Michigan to 16 points in the first half, 3 field goals and a touchdown in the red zone in the first half. But look, when you're on the field that long, when you're getting run at that often, every time J.J. McCarthy threw the ball, I'm like, why are they doing this? They can just keep running the ball. And in the second half, they did. They really shut down the passing game and just kept handing it off to Corum and Edwards. And we saw what it got them.
Yeah, Penn State's defense was on the field for like 50 snaps in the first half. It just felt like in the 3rd quarter they just gave way, just all those 2 long touchdown runs. It was going to happen. The only question was when. If it hadn't been for that Curtis Jacobs touchdown, we could be talking about like a 42-point loss. It was that bad.
I think at that point Penn State was up 14-13 and had 1 first down. And the 1 first down was a Sean Clifford long run, which, credit to him, was a great read and a nice little run. I thought he was going to Daniel Jones it and trip over the 5-yard line. He ends up getting tackled, and that was a good moment for them. It was the Curtis Jacobs pick 6 was a nice moment. You're thinking, hey, it's 14-13, and we go into halftime only down 16-14, come out, kick a field goal, 17-16, and then it just 25 unanswered points for Michigan. It was the ground game that killed them, and they knew what was coming. They just couldn't stop it.
Johnny, let's put a cherry on this terrible tasting Sunday for Penn State and James Franklin. He has never beat a top 5 team on the road. He has 1 top 5 win, I think, in like 10 tries, and a lot of the games haven't been all that competitive. He admitted they have to get bigger and stronger, especially at the line of scrimmage. That is not a great admission in year 9.
No, I mean, it's an admission of you're lacking in recruiting, development. He said there's a lot that goes into it, and there is, but it doesn't help when you're coming off the bye week specifically, because his record off the bye is not great, and they show up here and they just get run all over. And look, it's just not a good show. It's not a good look for him as a head coach, as not only the game day guy, but as the leader of the program, as the guy that is recruiting and doing, it's just, they just didn't have it today. They got blown off the field.
If you're James Franklin, maybe in the future, like he's got a 10-year contract, maybe start scheduling games on neutral fields against Michigan. If you give them like a little incentive instead of coming here, because
or just ask not to have a bye week anymore.
It's 3 games here of more than 40 points, and you're right, they're just not good off the bye week. This is a terrible loss, and I think they have not played well after losses, as we know. So it's going to be really curious to see how they play against Minnesota and then Ohio State in a couple weeks.
They have this gauntlet still going. This is the first game of 3. Minnesota at home, and you saw, I think Tanner Morgan might have gotten carted off for Minnesota, so maybe that's something to keep an eye on. Whiteout next week, you would hope that Penn State rebounds, wins that at home, gets a 6-1, licks their wounds a bit. I think Penn State might match up better against Ohio State given their passing tendencies as opposed to this team that just ran all over them. But we'll see. We'll see. Ohio State is a beast, and I believe they're the number 3 team in the country, number 2 team in the country. So yeah, we'll see how they fare, but Minnesota should be an opportunity for them to maybe get back on track.
But this was a pretty typical ending in Ann Arbor, unfortunately, for Penn State and their fans.